this lesson, we will create a spline IK system for the creature's neck. The spline IK solver is really neat because it's a way to constrain bones to follow the curvature of a spline. So you'll see this used quite often for torsos, for tails. So here, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can use it to get some flexible results out of Rexy's neck. Now what we first need to do is create a spline for the system to follow. So here's what we'll do. We'll head over to Create. We'll create a line. Let's go to our snapping tools. Let's make sure we have this set to pivot. So we can uncheck grid points just so we're focused on each bone's pivot point. That way, when we apply our spline IK, there will be little to no shifting at all when it's finally attached to this chain. Alright, so let's go ahead and press the S key to turn on our snapping tool, and we'll just snap to each neck bone. So there's one, there's two, there's three, and then finally just one more. Alright, great. Let's go ahead and right click to exit our line tool. No need for this line to have any thickness. So let's say we head over to our modify panel and disable that. Alright, great. Once it's been made, it's always a good idea to just go ahead and reset your X-form on these objects. We always want to be on the safe side. I'll just go ahead and collapse it down. We could also have it renamed. We could always call this spline underscore neck underscore IK01. Then we can have it stored in our hidden layer. Alright, so now it's time to create the spline IK solver. So here's what we need to do. We'll grab the root of our neck for our IK system, and with that selected, we'll choose animation, IK solvers, and we'll grab the spline IK solver. Now we need to connect to our end bone, which is our nub, neck D, and the last thing we select is our spline. Let's make sure we go ahead and hover over it, and there we have it. So take a look at what has happened. Let's press the S key to disable snapping. You can see we have several helpers that have been added. So these are our controls. If we were to go ahead and grab our spline, we can then go to our modify panel, and you'll see that 3ds Max has added a spline IK modifier on top of this shape. And then here are all of those controls, all of those helpers that essentially drive this system. If we were to scroll down, we can go to helper size and bring down the size of each. These will be our intermediate controls. We'll create animation controls to drive these. But just to go ahead and test these out, we can grab any one of these helpers. Just go ahead and zoom in. There we go. And we can start to pull them around. And as you can see, again, we're able to drive the spline IK system using these really cool helper objects. You'll also see that they are parented in an FK hierarchy. Well, what regulates that? Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll grab our spline again. And if we were to go ahead and scroll down in the modify panel, take a look, we have link types. So we can link all in hierarchy. So this is the FK system. We can go ahead and link all of them to the root, meaning that they all move independently except for our root helper that drives them all. Or we can go ahead and set it up so that there's no linking at all. So if I were to grab that spline again, you can see here, again, we can set this up so that there's no linking between any of them. So again, we have a lot of control here. What I like to do is go ahead and either stick with no linking if we know exactly where we would like these to be relinked, or we could always go ahead and choose the first choice, link all in hierarchy, to create a type of spline FK rig, which is super cool. It's great how advanced the system is, but how intuitive it is at the same time. Alright, so we'll go ahead and use this first option. It might be helpful to recolor these objects. So you might just go in and grab your helpers and choose a brighter color, something easier to see. So you could always work with a lighter yellow. Alright, great. So from here, this would be a good time to go ahead and rename them. There's also one that needs to get recolored. There we go. The one that's at the base of the neck. But we can go ahead and spend the time to rename these objects just for clarity. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and work with the name of the bone object, kind of like what we've already done, but let's go ahead and indicate that this is for our spline IK system. All right, so again, going back to the helper, that's simply going to be pt_drv underscore neck a underscore IK01. All right, let's go ahead and use the same naming convention for the other helpers. I'll go ahead and pause the video and take care of that. Once they all have been renamed, again, according to the link type that we've chosen, the helper tied to neck A is driving the entire system. It also controls the scaling of our curve. So what we can do is go ahead and have this linked over to our root. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And then we can go ahead and freeze these helpers. So again, once we've managed to link helper A over to our root, let's go ahead and grab the other helpers. And we'll go ahead and alt-right click and choose Freeze Transform. Beautiful. So now they're all cleaned up. If we need to go ahead and get them back, we'll simply go ahead and use Transform to 0. Now the IK goal here is not to be moved at all. To move this, it's a matter of just working with those helpers. But we could always go ahead and have it renamed. So that's going to be spline IK underscore neck 01. Right, now where should we store all of this? Let's go ahead and have the IK object stored in IKs. We can have our helpers stored in our hidden layer, since these will not actually be our control objects. Then if you'd like, you could also store your IK and FK systems in the hidden layer as well. So if we were to grab the root bone for the FK chain and for the IK as well, we can press Control Page down to grab both hierarchies, and we could have them stored in our hidden layer. That way when we go ahead and hide that, everything's nice and clean. All right, excellent. So we've made great progress on our IK system. What I'd like to do is go back to the FK system to work on a head rig for our character in FK mode. And then what we'll do is go ahead and move back to the IK system and work on a head rig that would be used to also drive our IK system. So it sounds a bit complex, but we'll understand the steps shortly.